Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Noding. In this episode, we're gonna continue with our experiment with the iPhone 10 and Blender kind of processing using nodes. So basically, we already have the tool that can record facial expression and the whole facial performance. Like Andy Serkis call it like performance capture. Um, yeah, so with the iPhone 10, you can capture all that, and you can store it as data, and you can definitely turn it into like proper 3D animation for your own head, or like your own 3D character heads, whatsoever. So in this case, I want to share with you kind of like a experimental project that I'm doing. Basically, the idea is to be able to kind of turn all this data into some kind of 3D performance animations and make it as efficient as possible. You might know that from game productions, etc., and from movie production, sometimes you actually use joint animations, or you use like a bake. You can bake the whole thing as Alembic. Baking the whole thing as Alembic is, I think, the easiest at the moment. Using join or vertices animations can still be like heavy. I tried actually with this face. I turned it into 1220 bones and then animate it and then kind of keyframing every joints. That's not very efficient. Perhaps around this mouth area and the nose. You can simplify, I think, into very little joints, and that can be actually one method to do it. Well, anyway, this is a setup where I'm using my own original face capture here. I make it really small so you don't need to see my ugly face capture. The 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 face here, the texture is being projected back into this face animations, and that's actually working quite well. And you can definitely turn that into some kind of face map of yourself. You might notice that this thing is sideways. That's because of Blender thing. Basically, if you are working in Blender, the world axis is actually kind of funky, where you need to rotate minus 90 degree in X. That's because the up axis, what is the Blender up axis? I always get that mixed up. So Blender up axis is Z, and that's kind of confusing sometimes when in other package the up axis is X. Yeah, but anyhow, don't worry about that. So basically, we have the whole animations is working. This one is reading this data and parsing the data in real time and then projecting everything back. But what I did basically, I export this as Alembic first of all, and I want to be able to save this and export it out, upload it into something like Sketchfab, or even turn it into like my own app. So that's what I did basically. Um, so here you can see this is actually kind of like a simplified version of that face animation that I was doing. Here I'm actually using blend shapes, so I don't use like a simplified joints yet, but I will do that in later. For this one, what I did actually, from the whole animation, which is around 131 frames, I sample like some interesting looking face, like a funny face, and turn it into blend shapes. That's what I did first. And then I pick the one that's actually kind of like a standard looking face, and I'm using it like this one actually already making some kind of expression. I think I'm using one that's actually kind of like a boring face like this. From this boring face, I can kind of blend shape it into all these face shapes. If you are looking here, you'll see it's almost like this face is almost like kind of blend shaping through all these face shapes. How did I do that? I'm actually using animation nodes to do this. First of all, actually I normalize it using Sphere Chalk add-on. I normalize the face so the face is actually oriented properly inside Blender world. For Sketchfab, this is probably what you want, so the orientation is correct. And you have this one mesh shapes with all these blend shapes that you can already tweak. But what's going on inside animation nodes is the interesting one. Well, actually, maybe I should show you the normalizing inside Sphere Chalk first. So as you already know, there is this phase. This is alembic bake animations. So this is very fast and everything is inside this phase. You can see this is alembic. And from this phase, I bring it into Sphere Chalk add-on, and then I did all kinds of rotation. I actually reset the phase. With the alembic, I cannot translate or rotate or scale, but inside Sphere Chalk, I can do that pretty easily. So inside Sphere Chalk, I already rotated in the x-axis, and I scale the head, and then also I translate it up. And what I end up is something like this guy. Okay, so this guy, I just I extract all this kind of like interesting face shapes, bring it back in, and inside animation nodes, I'm using the shape key output node to control the blend shape of this face. So I think in for the whole face performance, I have around 131 frames, and I only extracted like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, around 13 face shapes. So this is like it's the 10th of the whole animation, and I guess supposedly in the most efficient way you can extract the face and just get the kind of like a shapes of face. So if you want to do like a performance with the audio and everything, you kind of have the blend shapes, enough blend shapes to do the whole thing. And this file should be pretty small when I upload it. To try to break down this setup, basically it's very simple. If you look at the blend shapes here, if I scroll it, and you can see what's going on. So there is this shapes that's kind of going one. There's only one blend shapes that goes into one per frames, and this is kind of repeating over and over again. And it's almost like kind of like there's a wave. I have these visualizations going on, so you can actually see this wave of value of 1 actually going through all the blend shapes. That's actually what's going on. It's as simple as that. And the way I created the wave is procedurally using this triangle formula. I don't know, I just grab it from Stack Exchange or something. Yeah, value that's kind of like a wave that goes through all the blend shape keys. So that's what's going on. This is why I have this. This is the line, and this is actually for the formula. The formula part is just a little bit complicated, but what you need to worry is this value basically. So this kind of goes through all the phases. Only one value is like going at the maximum of 1. The rest of them actually should be around 0. I can adjust it until this is kind of 0. So now this is more correct. This is the resulting head blend shapes. This guy to this guy, and then from this guy to that guy, one by one. So it's like I don't call it recursive, but each one of the blend shapes take turn to create these final shapes, and it is not actually jumping. Currently it is like kind of like jumping from shape to shape. There is no interpolation whatsoever. But what I did actually, I bake the whole thing using animation nodes, and I'll show you real quick. So I'll try to bake just 30 frames, and here in animation nodes I just go under overview and it just bake to keyframe. Now this is like baking the blend shapes, right? You can see here the value. There's a 1 goes over the blend shapes one by one in order until it stops baking. So now the animation is complete. If you look at the animation here, probably in the graph it is a little bit more obvious. You will see this kind of triangle kind of face, a triangle kind of curve goes over each and every face. It's kind of cool, almost like a DNA kind of thing. But that's not the point here. What's really cool is that even though they are kind of like a step key, you can select all of these and then just like just scale them. I'm gonna scale them like that, like so, like maybe 3 times, and then release it, and then kind of move the animation. And now you can see that from one face to another, it is kind of blending a little bit better. That's the idea. I don't know if this is working correctly. Let's have a look. Yeah, so yeah, you can see now the face is, if I just run it, there's some kind of interpolation happening now. With animation nodes here, I'm gonna turn off everything, turn off the spatial calculation as well, and we will see that let's turn it off. I think okay, now all the nodes been turned off. The face is now running in real time, 24 frames per second. That's pretty good. You can go up to 60 frames, upload it to Sketchfab. You can use it in a game engine and things like that. So that's one way you can actually turn like a face capture from the iPhone 10 and then grab all the data necessary at 60 frames per second. You actually have the blend shape coefficients that you can apply into any 3D head models. So I think that's really cool. And this is actually I call this animation like just like a funny face. I think long time ago there's one animations that's actually like a hand-drawn animations where the animator just draw a funny face by hand. I think this is kind of like an upgrade to that. This is like the funny face using iPhone 10, using Blender, and you can do this at home. And then this is really powerful. It's almost like a high-end, like a Andy Serkis kind of face performance capture that you can do at home. This is actually using my own face. I found this, okay, this is cool. Okay, I'm using my own face, but my own face I get bored very easily. But you can actually apply this into anyone's face. I have not experimented with that yet, but let's say you are kind of like smoothing the face, perhaps. I don't know. See, I'm smoothing my face now. The face has become kind of like a generic face. With generic face like this, it's almost like you have like a Mr. Skellington, yeah, Mr. Jack Skellington animations. So you can have that very easily. I don't know. I think this is kind of a very interesting kind of things that you can do using Blender. So you can also blend shape it into other face, but probably the shapes will not always work. But still, it's pretty interesting. You can try this if you have if you actually have access to the iPhone 10. So yeah, but anyhow, this is pretty much it for this live noding. I will continue experimenting with this face capture, and I guess I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.